Hey everyone, it's Derek here, and today I'm going to be going over my Jungle Cup experience here in Madison, Wisconsin. This was an interesting Jungle Cup because it was with the new Switch mechanics, which are already gone. But as you can see, here's my team. Pretty standard overall, but Wigglytuff was new for this, introduced just the day before with Charm. And here's my first round opponent. Actually, if you look at this, it's a 100% mirror match. So we are going with the exact same squad. So sitting here, I'm picking my team, trying to decide what I'm going to do in this mirror situation. As you can tell, I'm trying to debate exactly what's best. It's really hard usually to play the mirror, especially against someone that you're not familiar with their playstyle. But I decide here to go ahead and lead with Noctowl. We'll see how that ends up going for me. I feel like it's a fairly safe lead. It's good against most of the Mons, or at least neutral against most of the Mons in the 6-Mon mirror. So we'll see what happens. And he starts with Wigglytuff here, which isn't bad for me at all. It's actually better here that I didn't lead with Vigoroth. That would have been not great. And as you can see, Noctowl is pretty well able to stand its own. Trying the new switch mechanic here, I actually want to switch into Fortress, which gives me an ultra positive matchup. And I'm kind of confused as to why he didn't go ahead and switch back. I'm locked in. I go ahead and Heavy Slam. This is either going to burn a shield or do massive damage. It does burn a shield here. And I continue just going ahead and fast attacking away. And now here I'm just going to go ahead and take this. It's not going to do a ton of damage. It's an Ice Beam. It doesn't do much of anything. And at this point, now he decides to switch out. Again, I'm not sure why he didn't switch earlier, but he switches into his own Fortress, so we're going full on mirror here. I go ahead and overcharge a little bit here. I decide to actually go ahead and do the Rock Tomb. I'm expecting a shield, and he does go ahead and shield. So he's used his last shield. I'm sitting pretty right now, so Fortress is going to end up going down here. I'm going to go ahead and let it go down. No point in burning a shield here when it's going to get knocked out anyways. So I go down here, and I'm able to go ahead and flip back in my Noctowl that I had switched out, and I already have almost enough energy to go ahead and use this attack. So I go ahead and get off the Sky attack right away. It does massive damage to the Fortress. I do have to be worried slightly if the Rock Tomb comes in, since that'll do a ton of damage here. So I'm going to go ahead and shield this here. It ends up being a Heavy Slam, but if it was a Rock Tomb, it would have been real bad news bears. So I go ahead and take down the Fortress on just fast attacks. I build up a little more energy. I'm really ready to throw, Sky attack at whatever comes out. But so I go ahead and I see a Vigoroth here, and I go ahead and use the Sky attack. I should almost be ready here as well for a second Sky attack if I'm not already, which is going to do great. And I actually am already ready for the second Sky attack. So I go ahead and throw that, and he's got no shields. I'm still sitting on a shield myself here, and I'm able to go ahead and almost take down this Vigoroth. Debating if I want to shield here or not, I decide to go ahead and let him take this down, knowing I have a fully powered Vigoroth here. So I bring back in the Vigoroth. I know he's got the Wigglytuff in the back, but it doesn't have much health left. It took quite a bit of damage, and I've still got a shield left. So I'm in good shape here, almost charged for a Body Slam. I go ahead and throw that at the Wigglytuff right away, and as you can see, that takes that down. So I actually end the match with an almost full health Vigoroth there and an extra shield. So going into game 2 here, I'm going to go ahead and lead Vigoroth. I figure he's going to switch out his lead and not start with Wigglytuff, since he did in the last match and it didn't quite work out for him. So I figure he's going to switch that up. So I feel it's a little safer here to go Vigoroth. So just waiting for my opponent to lock in. It looks like we're ready to rock and roll. I go Vigoroth, and he goes Vigoroth. So Vigoroth mirror here to start. I always feel good about this. Sometimes your opponent will go ahead and flip out right away. Otherwise, this could end in a draw if all said and done. I go ahead and severely overcharge here. My opponent's clearly doing the same. I'm going to go ahead and, since my opponent has priority, try and piggyback off of that. And it looks like I did successfully execute that piggyback. So get the move off immediately after without any sort of frame of animation in between. So here I'm able to try and Body Slam again, but he also overcharged. So the piggyback didn't quite work the way I wanted to. I go ahead and I burn a shield here, and I go ahead and throw off my own Body Slam. He goes ahead and shields that body slam as well, so we're both sitting at no shields here, and this is either going to end in a draw, and it looks like it does, a dead draw. So both our Vigoroths go down, and I have no idea what my opponent has in the back, so sitting here I have no idea what to bring in. Noctowl seems fairly safe, Lantern seems pretty safe. I go Noctowl, he goes Wigglytuff, so nothing too crazy there by any means. So I'm going to go ahead and get off a Sky Attack here on the Wigglytuff. We saw from the previous game that this does pretty decent damage overall. So probably a little bit less than half overall there. I go ahead and hit the switch button to switch out into Lantern. I want to go ahead and save some energy on that Noctowl because I do not have any idea what he's got him back. And he gets taken out by fast attacks on the Lantern. So I'm fully charged. I'm able to throw a Thunderbolt. My opponent has no shields left. Really happy that I have that Noctowl in the back with some energy on it as well. That's going to do real well against the Fortress here. So we'll see what my opponent is able to do here. He might get off, yep, he gets off a charge attack here. We'll see what that ends up being. It's a Heavy Slam. It doesn't do anything. So I'm surprised he didn't either save for a Rock Tomb, or if he has Rock Tomb, I guess I'm not actually even aware of that at this point since he never got to use it against me. But I am able to take down the Fortress there with 2 Mons remaining. So a good game there, but I do go ahead and win round 1, going 2-0 in those games. So going into the next round of the tournament, so I'm 1-0, and unfortunately for me, I'm playing against a Severed Sin. So as you may have seen from my Rainbow Cup experience, I lost to him in the last round of the tournament to go ahead and take 2nd place. I don't know why it is, but lately he is my kryptonite. I cannot seem to beat him, so we'll see what we can do here. You did see his team there. It's an interesting squad. I am slightly concerned about the Poison Mons in his lineup. It actually probably is not to my benefit just because of the fact that I've got the Wigglytuff. Wigglytuff is not going to do well against poison. We start double Fortress here. I go ahead and I go for a Heavy Slam here, trying to bait the shield. I had powered up enough, and I do bait the shield successfully here. My opponent's going to go ahead and also charge attack here. I don't know what it's going to be, but I go ahead and shield. He baits mine right back. So not the greatest move there. We've got some mutual lag here, but as you can see, we both get back attacking right away, so no problems. And we're going to go ahead and get off another charge move. I charge all the way to a Rock Tomb again. This time I hit Rock Tomb, seeing if I can get it through, but he does shield, so that's a correct move on his part there. At this point, I don't know what I'm going to do here, what's going to come at me. He does actually throw a Heavy Slam, so I don't shield. Maybe I should have, but I really do like having extra shields available. I do play fairly conservatively with my shields. So my Fortress goes down. I bring in Noctowl. He's got a fully charged move here. I'm assuming this is going to be a Heavy Slam, so I shield it. It ends up being Earthquake. Don't really know what the damage would have been on that, but I do take down the Fortress here on fast attacks only. He brings in Lantern here. Terrible for my Noctowl. I switch out immediately. I go into my Vigoroth. Still not an amazing matchup when you're looking at no shields, but he goes ahead and switches out before I get off the Body Slam. He brings in his own Vigoroth. I keep doing some fast attacks here to build some extra energy, and I throw a Body Slam up at him. He's going to end up getting off another Body Slam here. Actually, I get off mine first, which is awesome. I guess that extra energy really did help. So I get off my Body Slam, and that actually takes out his Vigoroth before he gets off a charge attack. So looking decent for me, but unfortunately this Lantern that he's got does have a ton of health left. It takes out my Vigoroth, and I've got a Noctowl against the Lantern, which is never a pretty sight. So I just kind of keep attacking here. Don't really know what I'm going to do at this point. I go ahead and throw a Nightshade at it. Nightshade's not going to do a lot of damage, but Sky Attack really wasn't going to either. I throw a Sky Attack at it just to kind of compare what the damage output was on those two moves at this point. And as you can see, they're almost identical. And unfortunately, he gets off a charge attack here, and my Noctowl is going to go down. So That is what it is. Can't really do much about it. So he picked well, and I picked to avoid the poison types, and it didn't quite work out. So going into game 2 here, I go ahead and lead with the Fortress again. It was pretty decent last game. This time though, I throw in the Venusaur because I don't want to be destroyed by the Lantern. And so we'll see how this works out for me. So my opponent goes ahead and starts with Vigoroth of his own. This isn't a terrible matchup for me. I'm okay with this, especially if I'm able to take down that Vigoroth. I'd love to switch into the Venusaur here, but it doesn't seem like the best overall play. I want to save that in case the Lantern is sitting in the back again. So I go ahead and Heavy Slam. He does shield that. He's going to be attacking here. I'm guessing this is going to be a Body Slam, but I shield it. That's questionable on my part, but I figure he's already charged for a second one. He is charged for a second one. I let the one go through, and that doesn't do hardly anything. So shielding was probably not the best on the first move. It is what it is, in the heat of the moment with new switch mechanics. Don't really know what you're, going to be in for. I get off another Heavy Slam here, though. He shields that as well. So we're, both in a situation. I have one shield. I'm not going to go ahead and shield this at this point. I'm going to go ahead and let the Fortress tank the hit, and I'm going to go down here to a couple fast attacks. So at this point, he's taken down my Fortress. I've got Venusaur left and Noctowl. I bring in the Venusaur, and he's charged for a move right off the bat. So this is going to be a Body Slam coming in. I shield it because I do want my Venusaur to have the health. I get a little bit of energy farmed up on the Vigoroth here, and we'll see what he brings in. And it is a Fortress, which is real bad news, Bears. I go ahead and I switch out into my Noctowl. He immediately switches. This is not good for me at all, and it's his Lantern. So, yet again, I'm in real bad shape here. I'm stuck in. I don't have a choice except for him to farm a bunch of energy on me. He's going to do massive damage here to my Noctowl. He's just farming away. He gets off an attack. This is going to be a Thunderbolt. It's going to hurt. No good. So, almost knocks me out there. He gets off a few more attacks. I get off a Sky Attack here, which is going to do minimal damage to this thing. I am going to be able to, flip right back in my Venusaur here, which is going to take him out. Or can take him out, I should say. But I go ahead and I just keep attacking away here. I want to charge up as much energy as possible. The only chance I have of taking out that Fortress is if I'm able to just fire off charge move after charge move. So I just go ahead and I, let this go down at this point. I know that I can't build up enough energy to take down that Fortress that's in the back. So that was what it was. So I'm 1-1 going into round 3 here. This is against an opponent who is not from town. So we actually had several players come to this tournament who are not from Madison, which was awesome. Actually, the gentleman I played against in the first round as well was not. So that was kind of a theme of this. Other than Ace Evertson, I played against nothing but folks from out of town. So in this matchup, I start off Vigoroth. He starts off Noctowl. This isn't the worst at all. Counter is going to do quite a bit of damage to this Noctowl. I'm able to get off a Body Slam real quick here then. Either going to do decent damage or burn a shield. And he goes ahead and takes that hit. So I know a Sky Attack's going to be coming in here. Sky Attack would do a ton to the Vigoroth. I'm going to go ahead and shield the Sky Attack. Vigoroth obviously operates really well in a shield advantage scenario. So I'm going to go ahead and charge a little bit here and then go ahead and hit a Body Slam. And this will either take it out or burn a shield. It does burn a shield. So I continue just throwing charge moves at this thing. Here is going to be coming another Sky Attack. And I go ahead and actually take this one. I know it's not going to quite take me out. I'll be able to take him out here with the Body Slam or burn a shield again. So we'll see what this ends up doing here. And it goes ahead and takes him out. So we're both at one shield. I've got Vigoroth remaining. Going to get off a little bit of damage on his Vigoroth here. But he does take me out before I'm able to get off another Body Slam. I switch in Fortress here. Fortress, again, it's a pretty, almost 50-50 matchup. Fortress does have enough ability to tank some of these hits from the Vigoroth. So I build up to a Heavy Slam here. I overcharge just a little, and I go ahead and fire off that Heavy Slam. That's going to go ahead and burn his last shield. He's going to keep using counters on me. I'm expecting another Body Slam here. So I go ahead and take the hit. It is a Body Slam. So almost brings me down, and here's another one. So he did overcharge quite extensively there. I go ahead and take this. He's got no energy left on that Vigoroth at all at this point. So I bring in my Lantern. I'm going to take this thing down with fast attacks, and we'll see what his last mon is here, and it is a Beedrill. So that's interesting. I do have a shield left though, so I'm going to go ahead and shield whatever this hit is. And then I'm just going to go ahead and charge all the way up here and take out this Beedrill. You know, Thunderbolt probably could have done the trick with no problem, but I've got all the time in the world, so I go ahead and Hydro Pump for the game. So I win game 1 of this set. So we're going to go into the next game here, and we'll see what I'm bringing to the table. So I'm going to go ahead and lead Vigoroth, and we're going to bring Lantern and Fortress. So fairly similar overall squad. We're going to see how this goes against what he brings out. So I'm lead Vigoroth, he leads Vigoroth. So we saw what happened in round 1 with a Vigoroth v Vigoroth that usually is going to end in a tie if, you know, both players are playing optimally. They both have decent IV Vigoroths. He's got charge move priority, so he gets his attack off first. I go ahead and shield. Then I'm going to go ahead and use mine right away. I expect a shield from him. Usually your opponent's going to mirror what you're doing, especially in the mirror. He does go ahead and burn a shield. So I continue throwing counters at him. I get up to a body slam here, and he gets his off first. So that is that charge move priority. I'm going to be locked into my body slam here as well. I go ahead and shield that. Here comes my body slam, expecting a shield on his side. And he does not. So his Vigoroth goes down. He's got 1 shield remaining. He brings in Wigglytuff. I immediately hit that switch button. I'm like, heck no. That's a terrible matchup. I'd love to have Vigoroth to see what his last mon is. Worst comes to worst, I can bring it out to take an attack from him. So I go ahead and think what I'm going to do here. I go ahead and bring in the Fortress. Fortress has a very positive matchup against Wigglytuff, so he does switch out right away. As you can see, I'm hammering away right now, trying to see whatever he brings out. I'm going to start attacking. So he goes ahead and brings out in a Golem. So Golem has a decently positive matchup, I guess, against Fortress, depending on the shield scenario, but he does not use a shield there and takes huge damage. He is going to get to a charge move here, which is going to do a chunk, if you will, to the Fortress, but not shielding that move was probably his downfall. If he would have been able to shield that, he probably would have been able to take out my Fortress. So I'm charged up to a Heavy Slam. I go ahead and throw a Heavy Slam at the Wigglytuff. He takes me down, but it does burn his last shield, and I'm sitting here with a Lantern with full health. So not too concerned about this Wigglytuff. If Ice Beam's not going to do much, Play Rough does a decent amount. As you can see, Play Rough does a little under half overall. But I'm charged up to a Thunderbolt here, and I'm able to throw this Thunderbolt at him. So this should go ahead and take him down, and that is round number 3. So good game to my opponent there. Again, if he would have been able to shield that attack, that would have been a little bit different of a story perhaps. But here's my final round opponent. Again, another out-of-towner. Looking at fairly similar teams there, except he's carrying a Vespiquen. So with the Vespiquen, I should have a decent matchup against it. I'm not overly concerned about it there. Wigglytuff actually does pretty decent against it. So that Ice Beam is going to do a lot of damage. We'll just end up seeing what it kind of shakes out to. So waiting for everything to lock in here, and we'll see what my opponent brings to the table. All right, so we are getting into the match here then. We're going to see what my opponent brings. And hey, look, it's that Vespiquen that I was talking about. So interesting start here. I have Vigoroth. The counters aren't going to do much of anything, but I do want to see how this kind of shakes out. So I go ahead and throw a Body Slam up here. I want to make sure I do some decent damage to this thing because it is quite bulky overall. I'm going to go ahead and try and charge up to another Body Slam here, but my opponent does get to an attack. I'm going to go ahead and shield this. It is an X-Scissor, so that's going to do decent damage if it gets through. I go ahead and Body Slam here, but that X-Scissor, it took a while for him to get to that, so he's probably got some stored up energy here. I'm, pretty much expecting another attack here soon. So I go ahead and actually switch out into a little bit more positive of a matchup on my part. I'm going to go ahead and flip in here, but I am waiting down the switch clock because with the switch mechanic, it started burning the clock as soon as you hit that switch button. So we bring in Noctowl here. I do have to be worried about the power gem, but I'm like, whatever, he's going to X-Scissor, and nope, he power gemmed. That did a lot. So he gets off the power gem and then immediately switches out to preserve his Vespiquen. He brings in his Vigoroth, as we've seen, several times during this tournament, and as you may have seen in your own. This is an interesting matchup depending on how many shields everyone has left or how many shields they use. He does take the Sky Attack here, though. He's going to go ahead and get off an attack against me. This is a Body Slam incoming here, and that's going to go ahead and almost knock out my Noctowl, and I let it go down to one more counter there. So I go ahead and bring back in my own Vigoroth here. I'm going to go ahead and get off a Body Slam. I really wanted to take him down with fast attacks, but I knew he had a little bit of extra energy there. He would have gotten to his Body Slam first. He does shield, then immediately fires back a Body Slam at me. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and shield because I'm pretty sure I can go ahead and take this guy down. So I am able to take him down with a fast attack there. So I'm going to go ahead and hammer this Body Slam for whatever's coming in. He brings back in the Vespiquen, and I go ahead and get the Body Slam off on the Vespiquen and take it down. So his Lantern flips in and immediately takes down my Vigoroth, and this is not a great matchup here. He's actually out loud at this point, very concerned in case I'm carrying Earthquake. But as you guys can see here, I'm not carrying Earthquake. If I was carrying Earthquake, this would be a different story. But I go ahead and I take this Thunderbolt here, and all I can do is do this Rock Tomb, and he thought he lost right here. He is like, oh god, I lost, this is over. And then he sees the Rock Tomb, he's like, oh, I won this. This is done. So, Fortress takes a while to charge back up. I can't get to another move fast enough. And he goes ahead and takes me out here with a Thunderbolt. So that's what that is. Your movesets do matter, but obviously I'm carrying Heavy Slam for the Wigglytuff. I'm carrying Rock Tomb for the Noctowl and for the Vespiquen and all those fun little things. So going into game 2 here, that was my first... that was my third loss technically of the day since Ace Evertson took me out in 2. So we're going into this one here. We'll see if this is any bit different. I'm going to have to change things up quite a bit. Maybe be a little bit more strategic with what I shield. So waiting for my opponent to finish locking in, and we're going to get into the match right away. I go ahead and I lead Fortress here, and he brings back in that Vespiquen. So he didn't make any change with his lead. I sort of figured that might be the case. I just wanted to bring in Fortress here. It was a safer lead through and through with the rest of his team. So I just go ahead and build up a ton here. I'm going to build all the way up to a Rock Tomb. He's going to go ahead and get to an attack here, which is either going to be the Power Gem or the X-Scissor. It is an X-Scissor, so it's not going to do very much. I hit the Heavy Slam, trying to kind of bait the shield here, and he does shield. So good move on my part there to go ahead with this Heavy Slam. I go ahead and build up a bunch of energy here. I'm going to go ahead and try and build up to a Heavy Slam. Don't quite get there yet. I'm going to go ahead and take this. It is a Power Gem, so it does quite a bit. But I do get to a Rock Tomb here. As you can see, I got all the way up there. We'll see if he shields this one. And he does not. So that actually takes out the Vespiquen. So he was expecting a Heavy Slam there, and it was not. So that worked out well. He brings in Vigoroth, immediately takes down my Fortress. So I go ahead and bring in Venusaur, which is a very positive matchup versus Vigoroth. It wins in almost all scenarios, which is great. I go ahead and let my Venusaur take this Body Slam. It's going to do a decent chunk, but again, I play fairly conservative with my shields. I like to save those for where I really, really do need them. At this point, I go ahead and Frenzy Plant. He does shield that, so he is out of shields, and I have 2 remaining. So I'm going to go ahead and fire off another Frenzy Plant here. The Frenzy Plant is going to go ahead and take out this Vigoroth. So that is the end of that, and his last mon ends up being the Lantern. So this is awesome. I do get off one more Frenzy Plant before he's able to knock me out, which is just fantastic. And that almost takes him out completely, and I actually am able to take him out with a Vine Whip. So good game there. We're 1-1 now, and we're going to go into game 3 of this final round. So As you can see, it looks like I'm going to be leading Noctowl here. Again, switching things up quite a bit. I don't know what my opponent's going to do, so I want to go ahead and start with a fairly safe lead. He does lead Vigoroth, so we'll see this kind of, play out yet again. So I'm going to go ahead and build up a bunch of energy here. I'll see what he ends up doing. Waiting for a Body Slam to come through. He's just piling up the energy. I go ahead and hit Sky Attack. We're going to see if he shields this or not, and he does not. So again, kind of questioning some of the shield scenarios. He's got a bunch of energy built here. I know he's got enough for 2 Body Slams. So trying to decide what I want to do here. Do I bring in the Fortress to wall those 2 attacks, or do I bring in the Venusaur and end up burning at least 1 shield? I bring in the Venusaur here, and he switches out and saves all of that energy. So interesting play. He brings out his own Venusaur though. So I go ahead and I'm already built up almost enough for a Sludge Bomb. I do get off the Sludge Bomb right away. That's going to go ahead and burn a shield. So I'm going to continue hammering away here to get to my next Sludge Bomb. He should get to one first. So I'm going to go ahead and see what he's going to do. I do shield this now, and it's a Frenzy Plant, so good job on the shield bait there. I go ahead and build up a bunch more energy. I let him go ahead and attack once more. On this one, I go ahead and let it go through. This time it's a Sludge Bomb, so oops. But I am built up to a Sludge Bomb here with a bunch of extra energy. I get this Sludge Bomb off, and he shields that. So at this point, he's out of shields. I do have 1 remaining, and I hammer the Sludge Bomb since I built up the extra energy, and I'm going to go ahead and take out his Venusaur here. So that's going to almost take out his Venusaur here, I should say. So that almost takes him out. He actually burns his energy here. Probably not a good decision on his part. I wasn't super close to another charge attack. He fires off and uses his energy there to knock me out. So I'm going to, figure out what I'm going to bring in here. Both of my Mons are a good matchup for him, so it's just a matter of, which one do I want out, depending on what he's going to bring in. I don't know what his last Mon in the back is yet. I know he's got that Vigoroth with a bunch of energy. So I'm hammering away here yet again, waiting to see what my opponent's going to bring out. He brings out a Lantern, so he knows now that I don't have Earthquake, so I just build up a pile of energy here. I go ahead and I go for the Rock Tomb. I just need to do as much damage as possible. So I go ahead and get that off there. With no shields left, I'm in a decent spot. He's going to fire off an attack here. I do have this shield left, so I can decide what to do with it. I am going to use it here because Thunderbolt would have done a ton of damage. I go ahead and build up a bunch more energy here. Both of these are both fairly slow charging Pokemon. He switches out into the Vigoroth. I know he's going to be ready to fire off some attacks here, but I go ahead and hammer on Heavy Slam here. So that's going to do quite a bit, and it is going to actually take out that Vigoroth with the energy. So probably not the best play on his part there, unfortunately. If he would have waited, or if he would have just let the Lantern go down and then go ahead and bring in the Vigoroth and fire off, a couple of charge attacks, it probably would have done the trick. But instead, we do have Noctowl versus Lantern, and I am able to take down the Lantern that had such minimal health left. So you can see the final standings here. I went ahead and took second, but thank you guys so much for watching. I do appreciate it, and hope you enjoy your day.